Welcome everyone to our first part of our brand new video game for this video game book club. It is part number 1 of Castlevania. Are you telling me to wait?
No, it was funny the way you're like,
Oh.
video game? Like,
I saw figure. I was like, what am I waiting for? Okay, so yeah, it's our first part of our Castlevania Lord of Shadow playthrough. This was Preston's pick, but technically a user pick. It's just his month, which we actually need to decide if we have a user like Jake, or viewer, not a user, a viewer like Jake submit a game, and it's Preston's month, but he decides to let's do that game. Does that take his game pick away?
Yes.
We did that because Hitman was Steph's pick, and I used it as mine. So yes, it will be considered. Okay. We can take those picks and use it as our own. Put it that way.
Okay, just making sure. So let's get into it without further ado. Preston's going to watch the story, and let's do it.
Okay, so Castlevania Lords of Shadow. We played all the way up into the waterfalls of Egharta. I think last episode I said walls, but I think in a previous episode I said waterfall. It's fine. You figured it out. You're climbing walls at the very end.
I didn't figure it out. Was that fully chapter 2?
That wasn't fully chapter 2.
No, halfway through chapter 2.
Okay.
I did text you, to be fair. I texted you before you got playing it. So
he did. Oh, yeah, he did.
I let you know.
Yeah, so like I remember you saying
I didn't read that fucking text message because you.
I remember you saying waterfalls, like that's all that stuck out to me, like get to the waterfalls, right? So I was getting close to the end of chapter 2, and I was like, I got through chapter 1, I was going through, and I saw like the waterfalls of what you just said, right? Like that one. And I was like, so that has the waterfalls in it. But I just remember Preston really saying like the waterfalls, and that's what stuck out to me. So like, am I looking for one that's like just like the falls? So
the level is literally called Waterfalls of Egharta. It's in the book.
Yeah.
And it's text that shows it to you right before you start it.
Yeah,
everything you say is just anything but accountability here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying. So I played fully through chapter 2, which is fine.
Sure.
Because it just means I have less to do the next time.
We'll see.
No, I'll still have less regardless. That's how that works.
All right. Well, Lords of Shadow came out in 2010 on the PS3 and Xbox 360. We got the PC release in 2013. Published by Konami. Developed by Mercury Steam. Christian, does that name ring a bell?
It does. Mercury Steam made some Metroid games. More importantly, Metroid Dread.
And Metroid Samus Returns as well. So
yeah.
They've made some good games. So this takes place.
They were not good back in the day, but they have made good games now.
I think they're good.
Like, I mean, the Metroid games that they finally got to were good, but there was Mercury Steam for a long time was known for not doing well.
When I was looking up other games, I only put down the Metroid ones.
Yep.
All right, and this game takes place in Southern Europe during the Middle Ages. You play as Gabrielle, Gabriel, I'm sorry. Gabriel. I'm looking at it, I'm reading it. I got it. We're good. Gabriel. Voiced by Robert Carlyle.
Hello, I am Gabrielle. Here to
I am Gabrielle Belmont.
Voiced by Robert Carlyle. The name probably sounds familiar to you. If you look up, he is a known actor. You've seen him in a bunch of movies. When you see the face, you'll recognize him. That's Robert Carlyle.
What's his name? Robert Carlyle. Not the biggest named actor in this game.
No, because the other one I'm going to bring up is there's a character called Zobek. So when you play this game, every chapter starts off with the book opening up, because that's just kind of the theme of it. And Sir Patrick Stewart,
Put some respect on that name.
Yeah, put some respect on that fucking name. The guy was fucking knighted. That's Sir Patrick Stewart will narrate all these opening scenes.
The Union, Missouri that came out in that first pronunciation where it was
Stewart.
Sir Patrick. Yes, Sir Patrick Stewart.
Robert Carlyle, for those people that don't want to look it up, was in things like 28
days later.
28 weeks later, right?
Weeks. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Weeks later. He was the dad in 28 weeks later. And some other stuff, but yeah, as soon as I pulled it up, I was like, "Oh yeah!"
And you see his face, you're like, "Oh, I've seen him in movies." Like, what movies I've seen him in again? And you kind of just do one of those numbers.
And there's some Guy Ritchie movies for sure.
Yeah, a bunch of Guy Ritchie movies. That's like the two big ones. There's the female actor who plays like your wife. She's a pretty big name actress as well. I recognized her face when I looked her up.
Shout out to Guy Ritchie for just making like one kind of movie his whole career and just like coasting off that.
Bro, hey,
and they're totally fine.
Home movie, yeah, totally fine.
Look,
great.
This is not like me I fucking snatch rules. Like I love, but it really he really is just like I make one kind of movie and people will show up to watch it and everybody else can go fuck themselves.
I watched a Guy Ritchie movie last night, as a matter of fact, on the airplane back from Chicago.
That
I watched
one.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Man from Uncle's fucking great.
That stays on my iPad. It's a travel movie all the time. It's great.
Movie. Yeah. So
yeah.
Either way, Castlevania Lords of Shadows.
Yeah, Guy Ritchie. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah. So I'm just going to break it into the chapters. I'm not going to stop at each individual level. If we want to stop and talk about the full level once we get done with it, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll just kind of power through.
I got some things to say about chapter 1.
I have some things to say about every chapter. Unfortunately, now I have to remember where we stopped.
Yeah,
versus
I'll go through it,
you didn't
and I'll tell you where we stopped.
Yeah, the level for 2 ends with boobies. So there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I almost texted you, Christian, when I hit this and said, "What the is up with that?" Yeah. Okay. All right. Perfect. I know exactly where we're going. Let's do it.
All right. So chapter 1 starts off with the book narrated by Sir Patrick Stewart. I didn't even write it down there. How dare me, Sir Patrick Stewart. It's the year of our Lord 1047, and we roll into town.
I don't want to stop you. You're on a roll. I apologize.
I just started the roll. We're fine.
I know. Hideo Kojima was a producer on this. Like,
it's Konami.
Yeah, he's a Konami.
Yeah.
It's Konami bit.
Yeah, but you know that producer doesn't mean.
Dude, it's like executive producer in every show and movie. Like fucking J.J. Abrams like has dick in everything.
You have one director and two other people, and one of those other people's name is Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, but
he touched everything.
Producer in games is just you came in and you said, "Hey,
I'm just saying it explains some stuff.
It does not. No.
It's not Hideo.
There's no Kojima in this game whatsoever.
All right, so we roll into town.
Other than they got Patrick Stewart to be in there, which means that Kojima does that. He gets American stars in for sure. But that's it.
He's a British. I was gonna say he's definitely British.
I said Western.
Sorry, go ahead. You were on a roll, and it was very good. I apologize.
Yeah. One sentence in. All right, so we roll into town and roll up with our sick cross whip to a gate overrun with lichens. This is our tutorial. X for normal, Y for heavy / area hits. We get integrated to a whole bunch of tutorials like healing fountains, daggers. This is where we're reminded of the days of bad fixed camera angles. I'm not going to talk a whole lot of shit on this game because I'm actually really enjoying myself. I'm a big God of War fan. This is giving me God of War vibes all together. But this is that era to where like enemies are jumping at you from beyond the screen because the camera doesn't know how to do it, and you don't get any control whatsoever for that camera. You're doing platforming. It wants to switch up the camera angle on you. It's that of that era, which is why I put it in there.
What difficulty did you play it on?
I'm on normal.
Normal? Okay. Christian as well, I assume.
Yep, also normal.
I was on normal until about the place we ended and knocked it down to easy, and I can talk about it.
I've thought about knocking it down. If I get any trouble in it, like for situations, I'll knock it down. But so far, I'm having a fine time. So this is where we learn combos. Then we go through the book menu, which kind of introduces us to that, which I love. I love this book menu as part of the chapter select, the skill purchasing upgrades through there, the lore the bits, the little notes that you get. Off of some of the bodies. If you don't get these upgrade gems, you'll get these little notes, which I enjoyed. You kind of pull them through. It has a nice little bit of artwork on there. It's all based in that book, which I thought was very cool touch. So as we're fighting off those lichens in that tutorial section, kind of learning everything, we end up fighting a big one. This is where we learn the dodge, the parry, the block. And this is where we find out that we are.
The stick a big pole through its chest.
Mm-hmm, exactly, yeah. It's like, okay, what are we going to do with this? I'm like, I'm going to pick this up and swing it out. I'm like, no, you just pick it up and it goes right through the dude's chest. Let's see here. So we fight the big one and all that kind of stuff. We're looking for the Guardian of the Lake, as we talk to one of the civilians. And we are told to go to the forest. So this is where the world map opens up, which I thought was a very nice touch in the book. I like how it breaks it up into those chapters. And you get to see the little bubs of how all the levels that are in that chapter, which is not all the same. Some of these little chapters will have like 2 levels all together in them. And then some just have a buttload like the second chapter does. The second chapter is very, very big. So we're going back to the forest. We're going into the forest. We're getting more great Sir Patrick Stewart narration. And I'm enjoying it every time. After you finish every one of these little sections of these chapters, you get this little bit of like dialogue from Sir Patrick Stewart, and I think it just sets the tone and is just amazing all the way through so far. After we get through that, we see a vision with a ghost as we're sitting at the campfire, and some narration about love and such. Then the Eastern European magical horse pops out of nowhere, who I have named Artgerm, and he comes out to help you escape because a bunch of Lycans are coming at you. And this is where we get into what I thought was a pretty cool scene, which is like a horse combat. So it's like an on rails. The Lycans are coming up on you. The Lycans are riding bigger Lycans, and you have to hit them, and you weaken them down. You pop onto them to do a finishing move. You jump back on your horse. At some point, you do get knocked off. This is where you find your first life upgrade, as far as like gem, which is pretty much just heart containers. I think you got about like 6 or 8 of them. I forget what the number is, and then it gives you 8, and then it gives you more life meter. You'll see that's kind of a repeating kind of thing later on. And as we're going through, the horse says this is where he stops. So he does the big jump past a bunch of Lycans, and he just disappears, and you do this cool sweeping part down into there. And then cuts to a walking montage. So it's just straight up opacity to 65% of your character, as the map in the background is kind of doing its little Indiana Jones line, and you're just got a couple scenes of your character just kind of strolling along, getting to the next area. So as we get done with our walking montage, we arrive.
I think that was a really nice way to handle that first chapter and not make it like 9 little mini missions instead of a mission.
And do a whole bunch of winging.
That is clearly something they abandon in chapter 2.
No, yeah, you feel so. Chapter 2 is very, very long. So we're getting into this. We arrive at the dead bog. What did I put down here? Scrolls are cool. The scrolls that you find in the dead bodies. What
did I put down here?
But scrolls are cool. I'm like, why would I put that? Like, oh yes, the scrolls you find in the dead bodies. Dude, I'm going off my notes here. All right, this is what I was
Man,
playing this.
Just fucking slap that baby right on the front of the fucking box.
Scrolls are cool.
Lord's Shadow, 10 out of 10. Testing room podcast quotes. Scrolls are cool.
I like them. Nice little additions to this. This is where we're fighting a bunch of goblins. They sometimes drop grenades or throw grenades at you. You're supposed to throw them back, and sometimes get past. So we get past the slow bog walking, avoiding the bubbles with scary arms.
Can I say you very quickly moved past the word sometimes? Like, sometimes they throw them at you and they explode. Sometimes they miss you and they explode.
The sometimes was sometimes for throwing them at walls. Like, sometimes you use them to destroy walls. They throw grenades all the fucking time. And if you grab them to kill them with like a grab attack, they'll drop it as they die, and that's where you can throw them to kind of do some stuff with it. Apparently, Alex got hit with a lot of them and was not a fan of them. Am I right? Am I right?
That's a little consistency would be nice.
Sure. I'll make sure to get on that with my notes. So yeah, just get through this.
Not you. I'm talking about consistency with their grenades.
Okay. Fair enough.
Little grenade consistency would be nice.
To be fair, I wish they had like you can't parry those, right? Like you can't like block them, like push them out of the way. Like it's just, if they are thrown at you, then you're going to get hit by them.
Yeah, you either run away or pick them up.
Yeah. So this is coming up to like, it's not a very long part of this game, but the slow bog section of it is super duper slow. This is probably the only section of this game that I wasn't a big fan of. But it's just, you can try to jump to get a little bit further to start off with, but then the bubbles happen and they're not timed very well to where you can like just time it to like walk through. Cause there's some parts where there's like 3 or 4 of those bubbles and you almost have to get grabbed, mash a button to get out of it. And then you can kind of continue on. There's not like I don't think, maybe there is, there's not like a perfect pattern to get through that. Without getting grabbed. Or at least I didn't see one. There probably is. I just don't know. I can probably check out a speed run. They probably just avoid it somehow. So yeah, as we're going through this bog, something is watching us from a distance. We end up finding a grave. It's one of our brothers. And there's a special little spot on that grave that just fits our crucifix just nicely. So we get an upgrade. This is the hook tip. So that way we can do some swinging around and grapple hooking and climbing down for this.
What's that?
And
Christian wants to add something here.
Do you know in any of the scrolls that you looked at or anything, does it say, is it like just somebody from the Order, or is it like a past Belmont?
So it's someone from like your order, because Zobrix mentions it the other day. He's like he got one of the and he also like bends down. He's like, "I'm sorry, brother, but I need this more than you." When he gets
right. So when he said that, I was like, "Is this a fucking Belmont that I don't know about or something?"
Because later on you get another one. I mean, this is where you're probably gonna get your cool like weapon upgrades throughout the game, and even like Sir Patrick Stewart comes out and says he's like, "Oh, he got the power of one of these other brothers." He's like, "But that's okay. It'll help him along his quest." But yeah, these are of your order, your brothers. Graves, cool, for sure. Cool. So yeah, we get that one. We get the upgrade for the hook tip. We find out who is following us, and it's a big grass goblin. So this is where we get kind of our main like first boss fight. And as we go through and just take him down, I mean, there's not really too much to him. You fight him just like you fight pretty much any boss. I don't think I had too much of an issue with him. But after we finish him up, this is where we can go through, and right outside of the grave is what's called the Brotherhood Arc. So this is where we get our dagger upgrade from, as far as like a capacity. So we get 5 to 10. It's called a Brotherhood Arc. From here, we get this gorgeous zoom out moment of where the broken bridge is at. So you kind of do your little hook swing here, you do a little jump, far jump there, but you get this incredible pull out zoom section of just seeing this broken up bridge with the background. And I love the look of all this level design for most of what we played so far. I think it looks really great, especially for the time it's in.
Did you guys get to the point where you had to mount a spider and use the spider to pull down a tree?
Yes, that is in chapter 2.
Perfect. The inconsistency on the distance of this cross you have is insane.
Like for like grabbing and swinging and hitting?
Oh yeah, like for those scenes of like swinging and platforming to like later where I have to mount this spider to pull down a tree when I had literally just pulled down a tree 55 seconds ago with my cross, and then later, like right after it, you have to like pull down something else that's equally as heavy. It's just like, why do I have to go through this fight to mount the spider to do something I've just done and will do again at varying distances? Like
this new mechanic.
It's
now you can do the spider.
Things for things is what it is.
Sure.
That's how doing things for things' sake.
Yeah.
That's how video games work.
So after we get the cool broken bridge moment, we are now in the lush deep forest. We are looking for sigils. We don't know why we're looking for them, but we're looking for these sigils. So we're going through the sigils. I don't know about you guys, but I was missing one of them. I guess I skipped one, and you don't need to have all the sigils. You just need to be able to guess which sigil that is in there. I
think that's by design.
It is by design. You did not, which is another. Okay, so
the playthrough I watched, the guy got all the sigils.
He actually got them all.
Yes.
Then it must be when you get a tool to come back later. So
no, this is a fresh playthrough.
Okay, because I went through it. I went back and forth 3 times.
I don't know how you would have found a 6th one.
So I did have frustration. I did have frustration with this point, and it wasn't like frustration in difficulty. It was a thing for thing's sake frustration, which was you gave me 5 sigils, and then you could actually see the 6th one. I'm pretty sure I just couldn't get to it. Okay. Yeah, like you could see it. There were 2 other sigils you could see, but you couldn't activate.
Okay.
So like you had in mind what they were, but my frustration here is I go up there, I have 5. I know the order of 5. The only one I'm missing is literally the one in the middle. So what they're telling me, So what they're telling me to do is put the 2 in on this side and the 2 in on this side.
The only other symbol you don't have, you put in the middle.
And just literally put it in. And if you miss those 2, you have an idea. It's probably those 2. But if you miss those 2, it's just click, 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 click. Like there was no difficulty and no problem solving. And like I love puzzles for problem solving sake, right? Like if I needed to actually figure this out, but you didn't. You gave me 4 out of the 5, and the one in the middle you said press the A button to move this around until it clicks. Which is what you were intended.
Idiot.
I know, and it was overly hand-holdy. And this isn't the only time it happens. Again, I don't know if you got to the laser mirror puzzle in chapter 2 because I forget where stuff happens.
I don't think
there's
so.
a puzzle. There's a puzzle later in chapter 2
Sure.
that is it's you have to spin things and you have to like point the mirrors at each other so the laser bounces off and it's
Indiana
the door.
Jones style, sure. Yeah.
There's only 3, and like one it's north, south, east, west. One moves, right? So you move it to hit the mirror across from you. Pretty blatant. The other one moves in a north, south, east, west, except for one area where it moves a northwest, which is the only direction that clearly lines up to this other mirror that hits the main door with no movement. I'm just like, if you're going to do a puzzle, make it a puzzle. This was just me moving shit around to what I could see. Like, I didn't even have to guess. Like, I could see what's in front of me. I could see this one over there. Like, they were on these long pillars that it looks like you could move these mirrors back and forth, but you can't. They're stationary. All you can do is spin them. Like, that's just a puzzle to slow me down in time. It's not a difficulty puzzle. It's just like
What'd you find out, Christian?
A thing for things' sake.
So, for what I can see, all the guides for this game all show people missing that middle one.
Really? Okay.
So it has to be like a new game plus playthrough.
Yeah, because the whole thing was like when I was watching the guy, he was getting the upgrades and everything like fresh. So like maybe I don't know. Maybe I fucking missed it. Maybe I'm missing it wrong. Who knows?
There are 2 that have symbols that you can see in the U bend, right? Like you run around, that you come from the south and you run north, right? In the U, there's 2 you can see, but your character can physically not get to. So if you could have looked at that and said that's an axe and that's a helix, so I know it's one of those 2. I think that's what they want you to do.
Sure.
But why? Like by the time if I think it's the helix, there's a better chance I click A to get to that and accidentally stumble on the right one.
In a game to where when you go up to this puzzle, a naked fairy pops out for no good reason and moves the symbols for you.
That's what I'm saying. Like in this, I was frustrated specifically at this puzzle because it slowed me down and you gave me a mechanic and created a whole this was a whole level in that chapter 1. A small section, but it was the level. Like that was.
No, I'm not arguing with you. Yeah.
So I was like, why? Like,
if you're gonna make it a little bit.
If you're gonna make it difficult, make it difficult. And I like the puzzle. Like, I like that idea.
Sure.
But if you're not gonna make it difficult, then don't have it. Make this 4 little things.
It's the first chapter. We got like a handful of chapters in here. Maybe it comes back to you. Maybe like, oh, the green, the titty fairy's back, and she wants to move more symbols later on.
We don't have a handful of chapters. There's like 13 chapters, and each one of that has shit inside of it. Like chapter 2 is like 9 things. That's not a handful of stuff. That's a lot of shit.
Sure, but chapter 4 also has like 2 sections. But either way.
So like, if you have a lot of shit, take one thing out, right? Like if you don't,
why would they do that?
For it.
They made it already. All right. So after the naked fairy helps you use Pan's amulet to open up the little section over here, we enter a temple where we meet Pan. So we are sent to the Lake of Oblivion to talk to the dead, to look into the past, and to find answers for our visions by the Brotherhood, or like the leaders of the Brotherhood at least. The Brotherhood believes something is causing this darkness and thinks we may get answers here. Our wife Marie died 2 days ago. She may have a message for us, so we start tripping balls and do a rotation puzzle. So this has us rotate 103 circles. You rotate one, it kind of moves another. You rotate the other, it kind of moves another. You want to line it all up so that way you get directly to your wife in the middle, your dead wife in the middle, who has a blade coming down to it as soon as you unlock it all. What looks like the back of your character.
Can I ask you, how many moves did that take you to do?
It took me quite a while. I reset it once, but it took me a while.
I do it in 5.
No, you do it in 4.
You can't. Every guy that I just saw says it has to be done in 5.
Okay, then I did it in 5. I thought I did it in 4. So I moved it once to realize where the first 2 went. I went to the center and realized where it went, and then it was like back and back. And again, for shit's sake.
Sure, it's the beginning of the game. Maybe they're just making simple puzzles out there for, I don't know. I haven't played this game yet. We'll find out. But
you seem very passionate about this game. We just started playing.
I love the game, but I'm not going to sit here and be upset that you don't like it because who cares? But essentially, it took me a while to get through it.
I'm also not saying I don't like it. That's not it. I think the purpose of this book club is to talk about both the good and the bad, and I think it's fine to play.
I'm not saying you can't talk about the bad.
He's going to let Jake handle this for him and read the comment that it comes next week.
A strong win's coming, buddy. Yeah, it's going to happen. Now, where was I in my notes here? Yeah, so tripping balls, do the rotation puzzle, find
Tripping
out.
balls.
It took me a handful of times. I may or may not have been toasted while doing this one. So I had to restart at least once. But yeah, so we were playing this game, and then as you approach your wife, oh no, what happens? Why are you stabbing her? You turn around your face, and just the fucking man in the iron mask you got going on there. So I don't know if that's supposed to be you. I don't know if that's supposed to represent something, but you immediately snap out of it. Find out that was just Pan testing you out to make sure that you can actually make it to the Lake of Oblivion. And so now we can enter the lake.
DiCaprio movie, by the way.
What's that? I'm sorry?
It's a great Leonardo DiCaprio movie, by the way.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It's been a long time since I've seen it. So yeah, found out it was a test, so they can now enter the lake. Now narrator breaks, and during his monologue of one of the many, he talks about you going into the lake, which is this big ice arena, which is definitely a fucking boss battle arena. Before you go into it, one of the last lines of this dialogue that he has in that book is, not if I have anything to do with it. You. So, like, oh, this guy's hanging out, huh? All right. Well, then if he has anything to do with it, let's see what happens. So now we enter the obvious boss arena on a giant icy lake, and a big golem pops out. And we play a little bit of, Dollar General's Shadow of the Colossus to a point. And right before
great way to describe this.
Right before we defeat the boss, we get tossed off. The golem's about to grab us, and Sir Patrick Stewart comes out of here, a.k.a. Zobek, and shows up to finish the golem off. You toss him his dagger, because why doesn't the same person in the Brotherhood have daggers as well? Who knows? But you toss him the dagger, and he goes for the killing blow. As you guys talk a little bit, you see these wispies flying around. You decide that it's...
that's a funny choice for not having the dagger too, because Pan specifically says, "Hey, you're gonna want to have your daggers with you. Make sure you
that's
take them."
Pan's friend who's sent to help you without daggers.
Yeah.
So either way, it's to have the cool scene to where you throw him the dagger. That's why we had it. So after that boss battle, you kind of see the wispy ghost. You go find out it's Marie, I'm sorry, and then you go kind of talk to her over in this little area. Spirits, she says, spirits whisper to her, the spirits of our order, there are spirits of our order, as far as leaders of it, and the power of the Lords of Shadow is the key to possibly fixing whatever's happening on this earth. So, this is also where we find out that Pan has asked Zobek to help us, and that there is a prophecy, a warrior of pure heart will get the power of the Lords of Shadow and become God's vassal and save humanity. So from here, we go to the land of the Lycans. Zobek is going to go to the land of the vampires, and after that, we're going to meet up in the necromancer's area. He gives us an amulet, and another walking montage ensues, and we head into chapter 2. Does anybody have anything else they want to add to chapter 1?
I want to talk about chapter 1. So
sure.
Chapter 1 of this game, first of all, within the first 3 seconds, and I know, Preston, you mentioned this already in the beginning here, but like the first 3 seconds of this game, you just go, man, God of War really did a number on the industry.
This is like Castlevania God of War, yeah.
And it's hilarious because that game came out, so early, like way before this game. But shout out to Konami for never not being itself and just be willing to show up 8 years late to a trend that like had been largely solved by the time they got there. Like, if this game had came out like 6 months after God of War 1, I think that it'd be a lot easier to be a little bit more lenient on certain things. But you're like, man, like that, not just the genre, but that series had already had multiple games by the time you were getting here, and Konami's like, yeah, but fuck it. Like we're shipping a game, and there's nothing you people can do except buy it and shut up because you will, because it's Castlevania.
That's not the first 3D Castlevania game. The first one was Castlevania 64, but yeah.
No,
yes, but not the same. But sure,
it's definitely not the same for sure.
This one felt so much like a God of War game, and this is neither like a good nor bad. I'm just like
I
fact
think it's a
is
good
fact.
Fit, but yeah.
That even in the spinning of the whip or the jumping of the whip, was
it's just
just
the
the
change of
chain
ellipsis,
blades.
yeah.
That's all. Well, like the animation was exactly the same, and then the amount, like you beat up an enemy long enough till you have a QTE, and then you kill it, and then it drops, instead of dropping little green orbs, it drops orange orbs for your magic, or it drops daggers. Like it is everything about this.
Yeah,
for sure.
So
was like to the point where it's like, did they just take the model? Like it was this. Yeah, it was very similar. Very similar.
Yeah, so they do that though, but you're like, all right, so this is the kind of thing I'm in for. I think that this game has one, the problem that I have with it that isn't as bad in chapter 2, but I think it's in chapter 1 it's really bad, which is it's so disjointed. Like when you go from like level to level,
scenes and stuff, and you play like a small section of this, then you go another cut scene with the like, little story.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, like even from level to level, like you're just like okay, you have the first one, you have the first level, and you're like, all right, cool, I'm getting my bearings, I'm playing combat, I'm feeling this, and then immediately it's like, all right, auto scroll section. And you're like, okay, that's fine.
Cool.
And then the game is kind of like unclear about like the mechanics of that thing, like where they're just like, yeah, you fight these other ones, and then you can jump across if you're not. But if you make a single mistake in here, by the way, you get kicked off, and you have to do like an on foot section, fight a bunch of people, and then keep going. And so you can get kicked off like 3 times before the end, which is a fun thing. But so there's that piece. But then it immediately cuts to like as you are playing, then it's like it cuts to the sigil part, and then immediately into the ring puzzle, and you're like, as you're just like, what is happening? Like and you feel like, at least I did, I felt like where I was like, I feel like I'm missing some levels here. Like I feel like there was things that were supposed to be in between here to like lead to these things.
Walking montage.
I know. I'm just saying that you're just like, there's gameplay portions missing where like you are like the cutscene of that sigil level ends, and that sigil level really is like 5 minutes. Like,
oh yeah, super short.
If less. Like you walk up, hit the buttons, open the gate, and then it's like, all right, next level, and then you go, it's like ring puzzle. And you're like, oh, okay, right on. So there's that piece. Most of it's fine, and then you get to the chapter 1 boss, and so for those who don't know, just to date this podcast, we are recording this on November 7th, 2024. You can look up for yourself what that means in America, but I personally was in a shitty mood when I was playing through that level, and because of just the goings on, and I had a moment where that stupid motherfucking golem knocked me off of its fucking back or arm or whatever, even though I was nowhere near its hitbox, but that hitbox is so fucking wide that sometimes it clips you, sometimes it doesn't. The game doesn't really do a great job of setting up like a visual way of so you just like, I had to end up doing this thing where I was like, I would hit it 3 times, and then no matter what, I would move because it either would try to do something or it wouldn't. And so I would just be like, okay, and then I would go back, do the same, and then leave and keep going. It got some times though where it would like, I'd be way out of the way, and then it would hit, like it would still just be like, fuck you, and just like fling you off. And I had a moment where I looked down at my desk and I had my controller in my hand, and I was like, I should smash this controller. And then I was like,
no.
And I was like, man, that is very unlike me. Like I don't do that. Like I don't get like that. I was like, I don't think this is the game's fault. It's definitely a little bit of the game, a little bit of me right now. It's like, so I'm just gonna chill out. But Dollar General Shadow of the Colossus is absolutely a great way to explain this fight, because it's so inconsistent with how it handles certain things of, like I said, the hitboxes, or there's a little fucking hand move that it can do that puts like a ring of ice around you, but sometimes
that AoE was so inconsistent. I was getting pissed. Sometimes I could jump roll out of it, other times I couldn't.
But you can move, but you can stop it from happening by just staying under its legs the whole time, and then it'll never do it, which is a whole other thing. But yeah, I finished chapter 1 and I was like, I would like I think there's things that are happening here. My biggest takeaway was there was some mechanical issues that I ran into, and also nothing in this game so far, because we're very early, so far jumps out outside of the main of Gabriel's design. Nothing jumps out at me as being Castlevania.
So I was going to ask you guys that because, as we said last time, like this is not the Castlevania game I played, as far as I remember. But to be fair, I never finished that Castlevania game.
My guess is that you played
so,
a handheld, like a 2D one.
No, I played a 3D one. I think it was a 360, so it might have been
the second one, yeah.
Oh.
Maybe. But again, like I'm not. I've never really played a bunch of Castlevania, but what I know of Castlevania doesn't seem to be very Castlevania-y. Even to like, and I could be wrong here. Like Pan is a Greek god, so I felt very weird to like, yeah, for like Pan to be here in this vampire lycanthrope werewolf world. It was just odd to me. Right.
I don't know.
When I looked at Wikipedia, it did mention, like, and this could be wrong or just badly phrased, but it was mentioned that it was with a reboot of the Castlevania franchise. So I don't think it's supposed to have anything to do with any other Castlevanias. It's supposed to be its own Castlevania and its own take on Castlevania, I guess. So it's kind of like a reboot of, like, we're not tied into any of the other Castlevanias.
That makes more sense, I guess. The thing that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me was there's like no Gothic architecture. There's some like here and there, but like for the most part, like it's like you're in jungles and different things. I'm like, man,
that never changes. That never changes through the entirety of chapter 2 either, which is odd. Like you're more with the spiders we'll see, and like there's a couple of ruins, but you never get that.
I'm pretty sure we get more later. Because like I said, there's 14 chapters here or whatever. The entire total of them. But I've seen bits and pieces, or at least thumbnails of those other chapters, to where it probably goes more into that later on you get. But this is the beginning of it. You're just outside of town. You haven't dived like balls deep into like what this world is going into. Because like I said, we're going to the Lycan area. Zobek is going to the vampire area. And then we're going to go into like the necromancer area later on. So I think we're going to get pretty big changes in levels. Again, I don't know. I didn't like go forward into it and I kind of spoil myself. I didn't do that. But I do know it does change up a whole bunch later on. At least it looks like it via the thumbnails. Yeah, I mean, overall, I'm enjoying it. I'm a big God of War stan, and I haven't played those old ones in a long time, so I'm okay with going back to this, it being very much like those God of War games, just with a Castlevania skin-ish, if you will. So I'm enjoying it for the most part. It's got its problems. All right, chapter 2. We head out through the ancient ruins, overrun by nature. Now, we know the medallion lets us use light magic, which causes hits to heal you. So for this situation is, when you're defeating enemies, they have these little glowing orbs pop out. And then what you can do is you fill up a meter. You got a meter on the left side, you hit your little bumper button, and then you go into this light magic mode, which means that all your hits will start healing you after that point. It's kind of just a way to get heals. Also, you have to collect these gems to increase that meter, just like the health gems. So instead of like the life gems that you're picking up of the full 8 to get that heart container kind of deal going on, you now have a different color version for this magic meter, and then later on you find out you might get another magic meter that you also have those gems to collect for. So collect-a-thon here. Then you'll be going to get the focus bar as well. So as long as you are doing combos and don't get hit, this will generate more magic orbs once that bar is all the way full. So as long as you don't get hit, you fill up the focus meter. Focus meter is full. Your hits consecutively after that will give you more magic rather than just getting them after an enemy dies. So that's a kind of a faster way to get your magic back. Because I don't know about you, but I did feel that those magic orbs that are on the ground, they don't fill up your magic meter for shit. Like you have to have a lot of them to substantially fill up that magic meter. Then we get to Christian's favorite enemy of the game, the enemy spider, which can poison you with its non-parryable, blackable attack. And to get rid of that poison, you have to have light magic available to cure it. Otherwise, you will just die. It will continue to sap your health. And if you don't have any magic meter, which if you're not doing your combos, if you don't have that available, you might not have that magic meter to heal yourself, which may have happened to me once during one of those spider fights. We continue exploring the ruins, killing a combination of basic enemies we fought before. I get a bit stuck here at one of the spots. There's a breakable door, and if you don't walk up to that door, the goblins don't spawn to do the grenades. So I see the distance. I'm like, okay, goblins are going to spawn here, right? Because you kind of see like the bushes kind of look like little tents or whatever spawn areas. You kind of know what's happening. So I don't break that wall to get the first key that you need, one of two. I pass it by. Just walk right past it. And I go to get the second key. I'm like, okay, that's weird. It's showing me I got the second one. So as I go through there and get that second key, I passed by that door needing that other key. I am literally going through this level a little bit and kind of did some backtracking and couldn't find it, not knowing what's going on. I obviously see this door over there glowing. So I finally okay, well, maybe it wants me to do a prompt. Maybe, like you said, Alex, with like the tree thing, like some trees you can take down with your whip, some trees you can't. Sometimes you need to do something else with them. Like, okay, well, maybe we do something else here. I walk up to it, the goblins spawn. I'm like, oh, okay, fucking great. Let's go do this. So that's when I finally get the second key. So these two keys, you open to find the door to find another one of your brother's graves, which is obviously another upgrade site. This gives you the spiked chain for your whip. So this will help you out with some of those glowing structures we saw earlier that kind of look like little totems. And this will also, this one will have you ride and tame some of the larger monsters.
That part is where I was talking about the inconsistency with the grenades. I went a solid 2 minutes
trying to hit it
without them throwing a grenade I could pick up.
So you can.
They were missing me, and they would just either not land on the ground, they would explode, or there would be ones they would hit me with, and it would explode immediately. But I went easily 2 minutes before any of them landed on the ground, and then you have to repeat that 3 times to get it to blow up.
So for future reference, if you're having that issue, grab them. If you use a grab attack and you kill them with that, they will automatically drop a grenade.
So I didn't see that happening either. I would kill them and stab them, and they would either explode when I would kill them and they would die, or nothing would fall off.
And that's during a grab attack?
Yeah.
Really? Shit. Okay.
Yeah.
It was my understanding that if you wanted a grenade, you grab them and you did that.
It does say that in the tutorial, but for me, sometimes he would light the grenade on them and then let them run around and they would explode, or they just die and nothing happens. Okay. Yeah.
That's odd. That sucks. All right. Yes, it does. So in this section, we got some tightrope walking across some spider webs, which, by the way, is easy when they're positioned vertically, but when they're positioned horizontally, my mind sometimes just couldn't fucking figure it out. I didn't know which way my thumbstick would need to go to, because you can see when you're going vertically, you can see your feet, and as long as you're in the middle of that lane, and it'll move you a little bit here or there, it slides you away a little bit. And vertically, I can see it. I have no problem just walking up that line. But as soon as you get a horizontal one, I don't know where I'm at in that web. I don't know where I'm sliding. I don't know where my feet are positioned. I had a little bit of trouble with a couple of those, for sure. So after you get through some of those, we cut down a glowing totem, escape the underground caves. As we then approach the lost city of Vicarda, to the land of the Lycans, to crush their lord, as Sir Patrick Stewart says, into the dust like the worm he is, which I thought was a nice little touch. We end up fighting a goblin mounted on a warthog. We end up trying to weaken it. This area kind of just tells you what you're going to do at the beginning. You see a door. Oh, I can't get door with grenades, it tells you. This dude comes in with a warthog. I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to do with this. And we're going to make this warthog break this door down.
I killed that goblin instantly, because as it ran to me, I just threw 3 knives and it just fell off, and I was like, oh, that was easy, and then had to sit there and beat the shit out of that warthog forever.
Yeah. That goblin wasn't too hard to take down. So we fight the goblin on warthog. We weaken the warthog, we tame it, and then with this you find out that you can do axe with these guys that you tame. So you're just kind of taking down the enemies here and there, and then you just go to break down the door. I've noticed that with this warthog, not with the warthog, with one of the enemies later, I'll have there's a little way of doing this easier. But yeah, you break down the door. Another one of those incredible looking level designs running around the ruins. I love the way this looked. We enter an area with a bunch of goblins, keeping a piece of the lever away from you to open up a door. So you're slashing away, killing all these goblins. A larger Lycan comes out and grabs one of the goblins, turns his grenade on, and just throws it at you, which I thought was kind of a little funny. And then you fight off this big one and try to open the door. But as you're opening the door, it crumbles away and crumbles the ground beneath you as you fall in to the labyrinth area. So we enter the labyrinth area. This is the area known as the Waterfall of Eckarta, or the Waterfalls of Eckarta. We fight another spider, but this time we can now tame it and ride it, which was Alex's favorite part of the game. We can use this webbing to bring down a tree to continue exploring the area.
Yep.
Wanted to pause there just in case anyone want to add anything, but we'll continue on. We end up fighting.
We could have easily just done it with our whip. There's not like you can see its roots. It's actually less strong than any other tree we've brought down out of the ground.
You don't know what type of tree that is. All right, so
California redwood, dude. You have no idea.
Yeah, bro, it's pretty strong. Most roots are stronger than you think. We find some of the trolls that are kind of orgs, but with like floppy schnozzes. We end up riding the larger one, taking out smaller ones. This is where I saw, like, in the gameplay, don't bother with using the attacks on this big troll area. You can literally just walk into these dudes and just keep on walking into these dudes just to kill them. You using your attack will slow you down, pause you, and just kind of slows everything down altogether. Just walk into them.
Let me do you one better. For multiple stages, you could just run past them.
Oh,
just keep
really?
going.
Now you miss out on it. You miss out on experience to buy skills, but on easy mode it doesn't really fucking matter. But yeah.
I don't remember if I hit easy mode. So when you called out that big lichen throw that comes out, I don't remember if I didn't do it on him. There is a part in this chapter where they just become common enemies.
Yeah,
and
you fight another one of them. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
like many of them at a time. I knocked it down at some point in the chapter because I spent all this money on skills. And a lot of two of these skills were like jump in the air and you like whip to people and you kick them, right?
Yeah,
like
those are the first couple skills I really wanted to get the grapple ones. Those are cool.
Yep. So I had just purchased those. I'm like, cool, I'll start using these. We get this big lichen throw up, and then every time you do it, they throw their arm up and they block you and knock you out of the air. You can't kick them, even from behind.
Oh,
I did it from behind a couple times, and they turn really quick and they deflect you. And that was the moment I go, I no longer give a shit. Like I bought this cool stuff, and like I counted to take down because I was just beating the hell out of people. Even on easy, it would take me 30 to 40 hits to get them in the stun state. On normal, it was taking me 60 hits to get them in the stun state on some of these things.
Seems like a lot.
It is a lot. You just sit there and beat the shit out of people, right? So like, it's just a ton. So I was like, I am not doing this, especially when I buy these skills for these 3 or 4 enemies I'm fighting that just deflect every one of those. I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, the story is fine. We'll talk about this in a minute. But that was the point I was like, I don't care enough to... I'm not going for completion. I'm not going to do each difficulty along. So I was like, if I'm here for a story, I don't care anymore. I'm just knocking down to easy.
Sure.
And it didn't... And I'll tell you this. Easy does not make the hit amount less. It makes the damage you receive less. Okay. So the damage I have to dole is still scaled the same.
Yeah.
It's just the damage
you
I
don't
receive
get hurt as much, yeah.
Yep, that's it. That's all Easy does.
Okay. All right, so as we ride that larger one, taking out the smaller ones, knocking over a rock wall, we then continue on. Later we fight and ride another spider to build a web bridge. You literally do it for one web bridge and you kill him. So you continue exploring a little bit more.
You could have actually taught me that mechanic instead of the tree earlier. Would have made a lot of sense.
Yep, and then maybe you could have taken that spider further and done more stuff, but the spider doesn't want to walk on its own.
Not again. So.
Yep, so we find a downed brother and get the shadow magic medallion this time. So this, kind of like with the health one, instead of healing you for hits, this one just gives you more damage for your hits. So using your shadow damage will increase the damage. Also, it will help you open doors up that you weren't strong enough previously to open, which is how you get through the next section. So same thing with this one. Now what you're doing with this, what you're doing with these, the orbs that pop up, you're having to press down on the thumbstick to be able to pull them. So like with the other magic, you can just press down the other thumbstick to absorb it into that meter. You guys have a lot of problems with this game, but one of my few problems that I have with this game, and just games like this in general, is that I don't want to have to press a button down to absorb those magic orbs. Get them to be a little bit magnetic to me. Maybe there's a upgrade you get later on that kind of brings them to you, but like just bring them to me. I don't need to be pressing a stick down to absorb them.
I'll be honest with you. This is the one part I don't have a problem with in this game.
So here's the thing. I actually agree with you, Preston. My problem is
they split the magic.
If it is an upgrade, it pisses me off because upgrading putting upgrades in your game that are quality of life improvements is shitty.
Yeah, I can
So I'll say this, and I know I played further. I'm not going to give anything away story wise, and I don't want to talk about that much. But there are a couple things I want to say because I'll forget by the time we play next time. This is the one thing I like because I've made it to the point where I've gotten that second bar of magic. You guys have not gotten there yet, have you?
No, the second bar of magic is right here, the shadow magic.
Okay, sure,
you get this at the very end of this part that we're doing.
But you haven't utilized it much yet. So
no, we used a little bit.
The reason I actually like it is because what they do is when you press down the stick to collect the orb, it does not go to both meters. So now you have a choice to make when you're now you have a choice to make when you're fighting. It's either do I want extra damage or do I want the life? And I actually
it does go to both if you hold both sticks down.
Does it?
Does it split it in half, or does you get the equal amount?
Yeah, how does that work?
I don't know. It doesn't say. It just says that if you hold both sticks down, you'll get things for both. So to me, I've just been clicking both sticks in because why would I never not top off on both?
Okay, so it must split it because I actually like the idea. Then it's dumb. Then I take that back. It's dumb. Before I thought you had to click one or the other, and actually liked that mechanic because now it's how do you want to play? Are you going to forgo the health to do more damage? But if you just click them both down and get both, I take back that statement. That's stupid.
But it probably splits the amount you get. You don't probably get the same amount for both.
It does not. In the tooltip window, it does not say. It just says that if you press the buttons, you get both.
Yeah. To be fair, with this game, it could be a maybe. So yeah, after we get that one, we climb a little bit further, and this is where we escape the waterfalls of Agartha, ending part 1 of our video game book club for Lords of Shadows. I'm going to ask how you guys feel, but before we do that, I'll give Jake a little brevity here. I'm liking the game. Like I said, I'm a big fan of those old God of War games. This is just a version of that. It's just not God of War. It's just more Castlevania stuff. So I'm enjoying what I'm seeing here. This is the very beginning of it. There's nothing too crazy. We're still getting the basic upgrades of the 2 different types of magic. So I'm curious to see how it goes. I like the aesthetic of the book with the menu. I like the narration with Patrick Stewart for every little small act throughout the chapters. So I'm enjoying myself with this one. There's a couple of small things like the whole with the goblins not spawning properly. The first big boss battle being that golem being kind of so-so. It was all right, but it just didn't feel like it was definitely a big boss battle. You had the arena for it. You had the life bar. You had everything not life bar, but you just had everything there for it. It didn't seem that great, but also it's a first boss battle, so who knows? But I did like those little notes you find in there. It tells you about the lore of how this is like some old ancient civilization that had these like super advanced technology that lay dormant, and then this darkness that is spreading now has activated it and caused it to come back to life, which I thought was super cool.
So I'll go next because I think Christian will be more thoughtful in how he views this design, where I'm going to be more emotional on this. So I don't dislike this game. Let me say that there are things about it I do like. The voice acting is top notch. Having Patrick Stewart narrate is phenomenal. Right, it is a highlight here. I'm intrigued to see where the story goes. That's what has me right now. That's about it. So like the fighting is fine. Right, like the combos and all of that, like the God of War aspect of it is fine. They've made the enemies really tanky for no reason. Seriously, like everything just takes a F ton of hits for no reason, which is again, it's fine. But there's a lot of things that feel disjointed to me with like the 2 separate magics, the way you collect them, and then on top of that you have your combo bar. So now I have my health and my knives that drop everywhere, and then I have a magic and a combo. It's just a lot of shit going on.
We haven't even finished chapter 2, so how much are they going to continue adding as we go through the chapters?
Exactly. Like there's a lot, and I feel like you could have easily just made that a bit easier to manage. There were frustrating parts. Like I had equal frustration with the horse bit of being like knocked off and then having to fight and run and get knocked off and fight and run. I had some frustration with the first boss golem, same thing that Christian had, to where I actually had to look it up. Like I had to YouTube it, and I was like, what am I missing here? And what I started doing is as soon as the camera panned to show the hand was going to come around, instead of jumping over once, I would like hop over 2. Like I would be like as far away as possible and do it. There's other frustrations with that will come back next week as you guys play further. this just stuff gets repeated. Like the one thing I wanted to say that I don't want to forget is there is a piece later where it is a level where I think you mount 3 different things because the game just wants you to say mount this to break a door, then you get in past that door into the next arena, you have to mount something else to make a bridge or jump a gap, and then you have to mount something else to do a climb, and like there's no break between it. It's just fight mount, fight mount, fight mount, and it's just like, again, to Christian's disjointed part, I just look at that and I'm just like, why? And I had this whole feeling through the game. I think breaking these levels up into these individual segments did it a disservice. If it was one long level where you played these things, I think it would have been more cohesive. But because they broke it up these little segments, everything had to have something. So it's just, again, you get to these points where it feels like doing stuff because the devs go, what should we do here? Like, I don't know, fucking puzzle. And you're like, well, but what do we want the puzzle to do? Like, I don't know. Just, you don't need to make it hard. It doesn't need to slow players down. They don't need to think too much. Just throw it in there. And you're just like, but why though? And we'll have that next in the very next thing, like because we have the crystal now or whatever. Like you do some stuff that makes sense that leads to a puzzle that is just as easy as the stupid like the other puzzle. And I'm just like, you threw this in here because you didn't know what to do, and I think you did it for replayability and length of the time. And look, I'm not playing this the way it should be played. I'm playing this for Video Game Book Club. If this was at the time, back in the day, the only game I had to live with for a month or two, and like I was gonna be replaying it to unlock everything, maybe I would feel different. I feel like probably not, because then it gets super repetitive. But that's where I'm at. Like it's just, I feel like I'm doing things. The cutscenes will give me story, and that's telling me what I'm actually doing. But I feel like all the gameplay is just do random stuff to get to the next cutscene, and what you're doing doesn't actually tie in to the story. It's just like, you got to do something. You got to do this, like platform here, pull down this tree, swing across, and pull down another tree. It's just like, okay, I guess, like, you know, it doesn't. The gameplay doesn't tell the story, so they feel two like separate experiences. That's where I'm at. Again, sure. I don't hate the game. It looks gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah,
like the remake of this is like.
Not necessarily the designs of the level, but like just the artistic design of the level. Yeah. I really, really love.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous, and it's playing well enough being a game as old as it is. So, like, I'm not going to be like, I'm hating my experience.
For PC port in 2013, hell yeah.
I did dread, though, when I saw how long Chapter 2 was, and there were times where I was, like, on the 7th or 8th part, and I'm like, okay, 2 more. Just 2 more, right? Like, it's, yeah.
So I think that you would have solved a lot of the disjointed feeling or just like some of the like weird level design stuff with just, I totally agree. Having it be one giant level that you go through for each chapter, not like, you know, obviously like one giant one for the whole game, but like for each chapter, 1 or 2 levels like that are a little bit longer, because there's sometimes where you get going in some of these levels and like just as you get going, you're like, it's over.
The book.
Yeah. And I don't know about you guys. Like, you guys keep talking about the voice acting being good, but like, really, the only person I think is doing
Patrick
a
Stewart.
good job in here is Patrick Stewart. But like,
Gabriel's character, Pan was good.
Pan was good.
Marie's good.
Okay. Marie is an average. It's
you don't
like
get a lot
normal,
of her.
I think.
I mean, she's.
But like Gabriel and all the other voice actors outside of Patrick Stewart, in my opinion, all the other voice actors are just kind of like. And Gabriel's the worst offender. It's just kind of like. Like they just like kind of deliver the lines and walk away. Like it's.
I think Pan's great, and you're right. Like Patrick Stewart's great, but that's fair.
But like Gabriel's like when he's talking to Patrick Stewart's character, it's like a child talking to an adult. Like you are in 2 different classes of voice actor right there, and it's just not. It comes across so bad because you're like, God damn, Patrick Stewart is just. Patrick Stewarting all over this conversation.
It's the level of Patrick Stewart, man.
And right, but that's what I'm saying. Is I'm just like, I don't know. It just doesn't. I just was like, when you guys were saying that, I was like, man, all I could think of the entire time was like, Patrick Stewart's the only one who's, you know, trying right now, which is probably not the case, but it's what it seems like because of how good he is. But, yeah. Otherwise, I think the combat's fine. I fucking hate the camera, though, man. I really do.
It's of that era. Yeah. It's just
I keep trying to move it with the other joystick. I don't know. On my brain, it's not happening.
Well, here's the thing is that we say it's of that era, but like Devil May Cry 3's camera moved. It didn't move a lot, but it moved. And God of War's camera moved a little bit. Like, you at least were able to go a little bit left and right to like try to figure out something or whatever. But like this is like a static, like it is not moving.
Well, that first whole tutorial section with the Lycans at the gate, like that's the worst thing. Towards like you're fighting all of them. That's like I hear some behind me, like in like the spatial of my audio. I'm like, oh, they're just gonna straight up come from out of the back of the camera angle. I'm like, all right, okay.
Yeah. That chapter 1 boss kept hitting me because when he would go to slam down, I would mistime my jump to jump the earthquake. Because as I was running to the side or the left side, I was outrunning his hand. The camera couldn't keep up with his hand. I couldn't pan, so I didn't know when it was hitting. Yeah.
Yep.
Camera's not
yeah,
the
so like
greatest game, but
yeah, fucking camera really pisses me off. Otherwise, I'm interested to see what happens. I don't. Again, I'm kind of just waiting, and I'm sure it'll come later. But I'm just kind of the Lords of the Shadow thing, like when they finally
of Castlevania is kind of coming.
Yeah, like I just want like the Castlevania shit that I know. Like I want to see motherfuckers doing grand crosses. I want to see fucking vampires and fucking big gothic architecture and demons and all this
small
stuff.
pieces. I'm
sure
to it. Yeah,
I'm sure we will. But the only thing that like reminded me halfway of Castlevania is like literally right at the end is a giant succubus demon thing and this girl with a crystal hopping out and being like, "What's up?" and then leaving, and you're like, "Word."
That was also very weird. Like I couldn't tell. Was that succubus? Oh, beyond naked, was she also pregnant, or was it just a weird angle they had her at? Like I did not understand what was going on.
I have no idea.
I'm finna find out.
Yeah, she's gonna be pregnant.
It was some like I didn't notice the fairy earlier was naked.
Mm-hmm.
At least it didn't seem apparent to me.
I did.
I noticed though with the cutscene here, which was just like gratuitous boobs out of nowhere in a game where like you've barely even seen other human characters, so now we see this like humanoid form. It's just like boobs. I was like, oh, okay. It's a bit shocking.
And even then, like, it does it, and then it spins around a circle, and then the fucking thing just dies, and you're like, word.
Yeah, right. It was just
and then literally like it disappears, and then the lady's like, that's my crystal, and then she just leaves. Like does like 6 backflips and fucking leaves, and you're like,
yeah, fucking Power Ranger moves all over the place.
Okay, so also. So she's been speaking to us, but not with her mouth. Her mouth has not been moving, right? I mean, I assume telepathy, but maybe the vagina too. Yeah, her mouth has not been moving. But dude, I laughed out loud.
What did you say, Preston?
That's why you can't see it.
I can't see.
Oh, I thought you said it's the only other place with lips. That's what I thought.
I did not say that, but I like it.
I laughed out loud at the backflips. Because she backflipped like 5 times.
Dude, it's straight up Power Rangers. Remember Power Rangers the movie? They're doing multiple backflips to get out of the way.
No, but then she backflips onto the rock, and then she turns and she like flips up on the rock. And I just laughed, and I was like, was that faster? Like, was that really faster?
I wish that there was like, and who knows, maybe, what is his name? Robert Carlyle?
Yeah, Carlisle.
Yeah.
Maybe Robert Carlyle was charging by the fucking syllable or some shit. But I really would have appreciated Gabriel being like,
"The fuck?
What the fuck? Like what? Like just like somebody making a comment, being like, this doesn't
totally normal.
Doing? Like the John Travolta like walking to the room, like the Pulp Fiction thing, and just be like,
I just don't know. Like, and again, I finished this chapter, and I'm just confused. Like, what are you trying to tell me with all these backflips and stuff? Like, she's super athletic. Like, okay,
yeah,
I guess
I can do backflips and you can't. Bro. You fucking dork.
It took her so long to do all those backflips and climb the rocks, but I feel like she could just turn around and run and climb the rocks. It's so weird.
Just did a big jump, yeah.
Spoken like somebody who can't do 6 backflips in a row. So.
Hey, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
if I could, maybe I would do that everywhere I went.
Yeah, probably.
Sir, you have to quit backflipping into Costco. We're worried you're going to kick somebody in the head.
Quit being jealous.
Yeah, dude. You're just mad because I'm fucking sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Any other thoughts on this?
No.
That's really it. I want more Castlevania-ness.
To me, we're off to
in your Castlevania game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Preston says we're off to a good start. Christian says he wants more. I'm interested to see where the story's going.
Fair.
So where are we going, Preston? Where are we playing?
Right, so next time we're going to do a good chunk. We're going to finish chapter 2. We're going to finish chapter 3. And we're going to finish chapter 4. So when I was looking at the time
Chapter
frames,
3 is like 2 things. It's
chapter
short.
4 is also just 2 things. So this is
Okay.
going to go pretty quickly. I think chapter 4 is like, when I saw the person's playthrough there, it's like 30 plus minutes. Chapter 3 is like 40 plus minutes, and the remainder of our chapter 2 is going to be, I think, just under 40 minutes. Who knows? Either way, the full total of that person's playthrough was about 2.5 hours, when this last section was about 2 hours worth. So roughly about the same amount, give or take, maybe get an extra half an hour into it, just so we can make it to where we finished at chapter 4. So, and I kind of want to see if we can do chapters as we go. So, yep. So finish chapter 4. We will do part 3 with 5. But yes, part 2 will be the finish of 2, finish of 3, finish of 4.
Oh, perfect. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. Check in next week as we're going to tackle part 2 of our Lord of Shadow playthrough, Castlevania game. And yeah, with that, Preston, you know what to do.
Hit it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If watching is more your thing, check out youtube.com/thetestingroom or Twitch TV/testingroompod. To leave comments and ask questions, follow us on Instagram @testingroompod and email us at testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.